What's going on, people of YouTube? This is Brock's Generation coming to you with another video. Today we are going to be introducing a new segment to the channel titled Let's Talk About It. Let's Talk About It is designed to create a platform for people to share their opinions on all sorts of subjects. And today's subject just so happens to be the WWE. So let's talk about it. Before we get into the video, I do have a few disclaimers. 1. You are entitled to your own opinion. I have no problem if it's different than mine. I don't really care. As long as 2, you're respectful about it in the comments. You can agree to disagree respectfully. You can agree to agree respectfully. It doesn't matter. You want to present facts? Fine. Present facts. This is my opinion. That's the third thing. This is my opinion. So this is why I believe what I believe about the WWE in its current state. And I believe the WWE is on a decline. So let's jump into it. So, to start with my belief, my opinion of why I believe the WWE is on a decline, we have to look at different eras of the WWE, or WWF if you'd rather call it that. We have the golden era. Let's start with the golden era, because that's what started all the success for WWE, right? Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Andre the Giant, larger than life. Iron Sheik, boo, you suck, you're not American. Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper. All those guys were part of the golden era of professional wrestling. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Huge one. Huge one. Legends, all of them. Not knocking any of them at all. But that popularity can be contributed, or attributed, if you'd rather, to the fact that it provided shock value. The characters provided the shock value. Real American entrance for Hulk Hogan was the biggest shock value around the country. The physique, the eat your vitamins and say your prayers, the larger than life, what you gonna do when I run wild all over you? Those catchphrases, the larger than life character, and the gestures and mannerisms of Hulk Hogan was shocking. People didn't know that a professional wrestler was so manly. People didn't know that a professional wrestler could be so entertaining. Yes, entertaining. Key word, entertaining. Another key word that I want you to remember is shock value. And then after 15 years of the Hulk Hogan era, the golden era, we got the New Age era. It started bleeding into the New Age era, where people expected there to be characters, right? WWE put that expectation on people. Hey, we have characters. They're going to be on TV. They're going to be larger than life. We're going to have interviews on talk shows. We're going to be doing commercials. We're going to be doing movies, TV shows. And so WWE started getting their product into every little intricate detail of the media, right? Sorry. We having a little bit of a morning right now, so bear with me here. So WWE started getting their hands in the cookie jar for all sorts of entertainment, even pop music, which led to the New Age era with Shawn Michaels, Diesel, 1-2-3 Kid, Bret Hart, and those sorts of characters. Doink the Clown. And that era didn't do as well, because people are already like, oh, well, Hulk Hogan was the best thing that you could have ever done. Hulk Hogan is where it's at. And that's where WCW came in. is they wanted a piece of that pie. They wanted into that entertainment. They wanted the piece of what WWE had. So they took Hulk Hogan. They used their own homegrown star against him. And so they competed back and forth. WWE and WCW competed back and forth, back and forth. Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan in WCW. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart in WWE. And Diesel and Razor Ramon. And people just weren't as interested, right? You saw a decline in the ratings back then in the 90s from what the Golden Era was doing. So what can also be contributed with the Golden Era's success is the fact that it was unique. It had never been done. Like, you had territories, and Vince McMahon broke down all those territories and just created a global phenomenon. That's why it's called the global phenomenon. Because it wasn't just territorial. There wasn't just house shows being put on anymore. It was televised. WWE had WrestleMania. WWE had bigger than life stars. And then WCW had bigger than life stars. And they had Starrcade. They had Sting. They had Hulk Hogan. They had Ric Flair. They had Goldberg. Huge one. Right? So WWE needed to do something different because they were competing back and forth with WCW, and they lost some weeks and they won some weeks. Until when? The Attitude Era. And why do you think that is? Larger than life stars, shock value was brought back. They did edgy content in the Attitude Era. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. Shawn Michaels changed up his character and combined forces with Triple H to make D-Generation X. It's what the kids thought was cool. The kids vibed with it. The kids wanted to be Triple H. They wanted to be Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. So it got more personalized because people are getting bored of the same old goody-goody two-shoe act. People are getting bored of the superhero act, right, at this time. So these guys, they don't give a shit. That's when swearing was introduced more, blood was introduced more. They had hardcore matches. They had Mankind. They had Eddie Guerrero. They had The Undertaker. They had Eddie Guerrero in WCW, obviously, at this time. Kurt Angle came at the end of the Attitude Era. Or actually right in the middle, rather. So Attitude Era had all these big stars. The Undertaker was a star in the New Age Era as well, but he became a lot bigger in the Attitude Era, I would argue. He still kept his mystic presence, but he enhanced it. Kane, introduced in the Attitude Era, battled with the Undertaker. It was dubbed or coined the Undertaker's brother. So yeah, that is the Attitude Era right there in a nutshell. The shock value was the biggest thing that got the Attitude Era through the ratings war with WCW and why WCW went out of business. So Vince McMahon bought it. He purchased it. Because people thought it was cool and they kept it going. They kept the shock value going. What are they going to do next week? What are they going to do next week? Oh my goodness, I can't believe they did that. The Attitude Era. That's what started all this shock value stuff. All these moments were started mostly in the Attitude Era with Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, The Undertaker, Kane, Mankind, Big Show even. In WCW it was Goldberg. It was the NWO, right? The shock value is what kept it going. And then bleeding out from that came the Ruthless Aggression Era, where John Cena was introduced. Rey Mysterio, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Batista, Edge. All those guys became successful in the Ruthless Aggression Era. And what sets the Ruthless Aggression Era apart from the Attitude Era? Not a lot, to be honest. The matches seemed to hit just as hard. The promos were not as edgy. They were still a little edgy, just not as edgy as the Ruthless Aggression, or the Attitude Era. Sorry. I'm talking about the Ruthless Aggression Era. So the Ruthless Aggression Era was, it just kept that decline from declining more. Let's say that. It kept it steady. I mean, you had growth in technology, and how they presented their platform was different. And then came the next era, the PG era. Not as big. These stars are not as big. You got CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose. The big four that have come out of the PG era. I call them the big four. Because yes, you had the New Day. And yes, you had the Dustin Rhodes, Cody Rhodes, Goldust Stardust rivalry with the Shield and with WWE and Triple H and all that. But it just didn't hit as big. I mean, you had The Rock and Brock Lesnar, who were established stars already, but they didn't show up all the time. They showed up once in a while, and still do. So it severely declined the shock value, right? Oh, people aren't looking at, what's going to happen next? Because they're like, oh, well, CM Punk's going to cut a promo, and he's going to drop a pipe bomb, and the Shield's just going to destroy people. And there wasn't too much going on as far as shock value went. In 2013, they had the unification of the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship between John Cena and Randy Orton. But, I mean, they had Daniel Bryan, their biggest star to come in the PG era. And he had the Yes Movement. And this is when underdogs were a pretty big thing. But underdogs were even bigger back in the Ruthless Aggression Era and Attitude Era. So it's on a decline as far as shock value goes. That's the one thing. In my opinion, the star power isn't all there. That's another thing. And so I think since 2013, the WWE floated. That's what I like to call it, floating. They capitalized off of moments, which is, this celebrity's here, and I can't believe this guy returned, and, this guy won the Royal Rumble, and whatever. And they relied solely on the Royal Rumble returns, which weren't even that great, to be honest with you. So here we're talking about shock value, right? What is the biggest shock value of the PG era? CM Punk's pipe bomb, right? The first pipe bomb. When he called people by their real names and did this and that and whatnot. The first pipe bomb. That was the biggest thing that came out of the PG era. And the Shield. But even the promos declined. CM Punk eventually left. Daniel Bryan got injured. They had Roman Reigns. They had Seth Rollins. They had Dean Ambrose. Brock Lesnar was established in the Ruthless Aggression Era, and he was a part-timer. They had the Undertaker streak end, which is the biggest shock value, which is another shock value thing. That's actually probably bigger than the pipe bomb, the Undertaker streak being ended. But who did it? Brock Lesnar. And people never thought the streak would end. That's a shock value moment. But then what happened after that? What did it accomplish? That's what you have to look at. What did the Golden Era accomplish? Introduced a new platform of professional wrestling, televised around the world. What did the Attitude Era accomplish? Introduced a new form of professional wrestling, edgier content that carried throughout the Ruthless Aggression Era as well. What did the Ruthless Aggression Era introduce? Merchandise sales? More merch sales? Hardcore matches? I mean, that was in the Attitude Era. They had a bunch of those. A lot of blood in the Attitude Era. So you see what I mean? Is it slowly on the decline. The Ruthless Aggression Era just capitalized off of the back of what the Attitude Era already did. And hardcore matches still had the shock value in the Ruthless Aggression Era, though. People were like, oh, is he going to slam him through that table? Is he going to choke him out? Is he going to handcuff him to that pole and beat him with a kendo stick? You know what I mean? Still a little shock value there. But then it started wearing off. In the PG era, I mean, the biggest thing to happen was the pipe bomb, the streak ending, and then CM Punk leaving for 10 years and coming back. Edge returning after almost 10 years because he was medically retired as well. I mean, the Tribal Chief was introduced in 2020. And I don't have a lot to say about the PG era, to be honest with you. Because Roman Reigns was forced down our throats from like 2014, 2015, clear until 2020. And people weren't vibing with him. I mean, some people were, but a lot weren't. You had Seth Rollins cash in at WrestleMania, which is it's all right, you know. It's a shock value moment for sure. But the storylines declined. The character work, you could argue, was not as great. And then up until 2020 at least, when you got the Bloodline. So you see what I'm saying? Is it started off shock value, golden era. Attitude Era, reinvigorated wrestling. Ruthless Aggression Era, it was alright, still edgy a little bit. But PG Era, I mean, there's some moments in there that you can say, wow, that was a great moment or whatever. But what does it accomplish? What did the streak ending accomplish? Like I was asking earlier. Brock Lesnar's already an established star. The Undertaker's on his way out the door. It just it's just a moment. It didn't further anybody's career. It didn't further the progression of professional wrestling. And so when you talk about these moments and stuff, that's why I believe that professional wrestling's been on a decline. Because you don't have that shock value anymore. You don't have something new and edgy to introduce to people to keep them invested in your characters. You don't have the storylines that have the shock value in them to keep people invested in these characters and these stories. And so, I mean, viewership has been on the decline. I mean, it's been better as recently, or whenever Roman Reigns decides to show up, or whenever Brock Lesnar shows up. The Bloodline, you can argue that the Bloodline progressed for professional wrestling, but it didn't. It was meant to progress one guy, or the guys surrounding that one guy. And that is Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Sami Zayn. Maybe Solo Sikoa, but look at what's happened to him. I mean, he's entertaining, but it's not the same. It's not the same. And so, what do, right? You introduce the Judgment Day, you introduce the Vision, you introduce this group, and you introduce that group, and faction. Force down your throat. The guy that everybody wants you to push, you don't. You're like, he's just going to lose next week. You put the same matches on. The Usos are a tag team again. Jey Uso won the world title. He did nothing with him. That's what people hated about that. Jey Uso won the world championship. They wanted him to beat Roman Reigns. They wanted Jey Uso to be the one to beat Roman Reigns. That's what the big hype was around Jey Uso, because those matches were so emotional. They provided the shock value. How could one family member do this to another? And then you had Jey Uso be beaten. Then you had Sami Zayn, who was the underdog, who went up against Roman Reigns and helped Kevin Owens in this huge thing. And what did you do with Sami Zayn? Fizzled out. Kevin Owens, Finn Balor. What have you done with them? You have all these stars that people care about, that you could have shock value in. And what do you do with them? You let them sit and rot and waste. And so, in my opinion, it's gotten repetitive. The shock value is not there anymore. You've got, it's like a sports feel to it, where they're trying to be Sports Center, or they're trying to be the announcers at a football game or a basketball or baseball game, and they're not. They're trying to be more professional. I call it the professional era, right? We're trying to be more professional. That's not cool. It's not edgy. It doesn't have character development. Whose character is being developed? Braun Breaker's always been known as the badass. Braun Breaker lost. What about Bronson Reed? Nobody even mentions Bronson Reed. He's just kind of the muscle, right? And Breaker's the muscle. And Logan Paul's the muscle. And Austin Theory's the muscle. Where's the storyline? Where's those little intricate details that we're missing from these characters? Where's the larger than life? Because yes, it's great to relate to a character, but also make that character larger than life, like Hulk Hogan. People related to Hulk Hogan. They wanted to be a man. They wanted to be all-American. Do people want to be Braun Breaker? Is he larger than life? They try to make him with all his accolades. He can run 23 miles an hour between the ropes. Okay. Is that all he does? You know what I mean? So we're looking at an era that is like the New Age era after the Golden Era. We're looking at an era that is uncertain, right? And they need to bring that shock value back. They need to bring the storylines back that have the shock value in them. And so that is why I believe professional wrestling's on the decline. Now, it could turn around. They could turn it around. They could totally shock us and do something completely unexpected. They could make the content edgier. They could introduce a character that's larger than life that people can get behind. But I mean, they've had so many opportunities to do that already, and they haven't. And so they say professional wrestling fans will never be happy no matter what, and that is a true statement. That's a true statement. Professional wrestling fans, no matter what you do, have never been completely satisfied. And everybody can agree on that. But they care more about fake statistics, like scripted statistics, and they care more about this guy's 200 something pounds, and he's a former college athlete, and he can bench press this, and he can run the ropes 23 miles per hour. Okay. Why should I invest in him as a character, though? That's what the point they're missing. Why do I care about that? Why should I invest in this guy when I've invested in the last 10 other guys and you've done nothing with them? So we're seeing people kind of tune out. You know, people are like, "Oh, wrestling's making a comeback. Wrestling's going to be popular again. Wrestling this, wrestling that." Well, guess what, man? The shock value isn't there. Winning championships doesn't seem to really matter. Like, the champions are never there anyways, so why should we care? Why should we care? Like, CM Punk's been there recently, but you know what I mean? It's like, who cares, man? Champion barely competes, or it's always a tag team match, or he's always getting beat up like by the numbers or whatever. Who cares anymore? And that's the point where I'm at least. That's my opinion. Like, come on, bro. Who really cares? So what do we make of this? What do we make of what I've said? We make that maybe WWE only cares about the money. Maybe they only care about the merchandise revenue. And they're just milking that cow until it's dry. Because that's my opinion. That's what I see happening right now. Is all these advertisements on the mats, advertisements constantly throughout the show, ad breaks constantly. All the merchandise, people pushing merchandise and catchphrases and stuff. It's milking the cow. The cash cow. And it's going to be dry here pretty soon, man. They're marketing towards little kids because that's who they believe is going to bring in the most money. Like, oh, this kid will buy this lunchbox or this backpack, or this goober will buy this jacket or whatever, or this championship belt that we say is limited edition legacy championship belt. How many championship belts did they come out with in John Cena's farewell tour? Every event that he went to. Almost every event that he went to was made into a championship belt or a t-shirt. Why do you think that is? Because they're milking that cash cow, bro. That's all they care about. They don't care about if you're entertained or not. They don't care if I'm entertained. They don't care if you're entertained. You're giving them the money still. So why should they care? And that's my opinion as to why I believe it's on a decline, and that we as wrestling fans are getting screwed out of having a good product. And not just in WWE, but AEW as well. And at least with AEW, they do care about putting on a decent show. I will say that, but it's repetitive. It's still the same people. It's not just WWE. AEW is... I mean, the action is better. I will admit, the action in AEW is better. But as far as like storylines and shock value and stuff, they're kind of in the same boat WWE's in, where they care more about statistics that they made up themselves. And so, with that being said, that is the whole stick of Let's Talk About It. Is I put out that information, I share my opinion in hopes that maybe people will wake up and maybe come to the same side, or maybe they see things differently and can change my perspective on things. But with all the information that I've given on based off my opinion, I don't really see it changing anytime soon. So, professional wrestling on the decline. Golden era, Attitude era, Ruthless Aggression era, PG era. We've gone through all of it. Right now we're in the professional era. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Anyways, I appreciate you guys if you've gotten this far in the video. I appreciate you watching the video. Let me know what your thoughts are. What era do you think is best? And do you agree with my opinion or do you disagree with my opinion? Let me know in the comments down below. But until the next one, thanks for watching. This has been the segment Let's Talk About It with Brock's Generation. I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.